What's up, Sneak Peekers? My name is Chris, and I am here on the red carpet for the premiere of The Luckiest Guy in the World.
I'm Steve James and the director of the film, The Luckiest Guy in the World.
My name is Marsha Cooke, and I'm the executive producer of 30 for 30.
Hi, I'm Bill, and I'm the luckiest guy in the world.
So, first question I had for you was, what exactly about Bill Walton's story pushed you into going all in on this project?
Well, I'm only a couple of years younger than Bill, and I remember I was, very much into basketball in my youth. I was a marginal player, and I remember being a big admirer of him when he was all the way back at UCLA and a star player in college, and just followed his career over the years. And just it always struck me that he'd had kind of an extraordinary life and an unusual life for a pro athlete.
He's one of the all-time great NBA stars. So that alone is a great reason to do a film. But his story is so unique because it's covered the trajectory of a lot of American history that we find to be interesting. The 60s, pop culture, social activism. He was one of the first professional athletes to really speak out against the things in this country that he did not understand or approve of, like the Vietnam War. He was one of the earliest protesters of the Vietnam War who was a basketball star where he went to school, which was UCLA, and his great coach, John Wooden. So you have that, you have his protests, you have his basketball prowess. So many people know of him as a broadcaster now, but they don't know what a phenomenal player he was in college in the 60s, 70s, and 80s. So his life from college to the end of his basketball career, then to his broadcasting career, makes him a full kind of interesting, in-depth interview that you can attach moments in history to, which makes it a great documentary.
I'm a team guy. I've always been that way in my life. That's my goal, to be part of something special. And ESPN, they reached out to me and said, hey, let's do this 30 for 30. Looked around, talked to people, NBA got involved, great collaboration. They introduced me to Steve James, and here I am in Austin at South by Southwest. What more could you ask for? I'm the luckiest guy in the world.
I wanted to ask if there was any particular part about making this project or anything about Bill Walton's story that you think makes it distinct from any of your other previous works.
Well, I think it's definitely distinct. I mean, most of the times over the years, most of the films I've done over the years, there's been one other exception, have not been about people who are in the public light, who are not who are not famous, frankly, in any way. Most of the films I've done have been about people you've never heard of. And this one I think is really interesting because I think that even though a lot of people think they know who Bill Walton is, I'm hoping that this series really delves much more deeply and compassionately into telling the full story, because it's quite a journey he's been on.
I don't think that there's anyone who's had as colorful of a life as Bill. When you think about his relationship to activism, when you think about his relationship to music, he not only played basketball beautifully and proficiently, he's also a huge music fan and literally like the lost member of the Grateful Dead. So he has all of these different little touch points that makes him not just an ordinary player or athlete. He's a bit of a celebrity and an athlete, but also a humanitarian because of his activism. That gives us a full picture of a man, and that's what I love about this film and what I love about Bill Walton.
How has it been kind of the journey looking back at your career and having to kind of reflect back on how you got here today? How's that been like?
I'm a look forward type of guy, but looking back, I try to learn from my experiences, my mistakes, and try to become a better human being, a better person, moving forward. Take what I learned yesterday, use it as inspiration to try to do more, do better, and be better.
What are you hoping for viewers of this documentary to get out of it? Are you hoping to maybe change the perception that Bill Walton has from the public eye, or just to give us more information as to who he is as a person? Just anything that you hope specifically for fans to get out of this project?
So a couple things. I think a lot of people today don't know what an amazing basketball player he was. So I really, because they didn't see him. You know, he was big in the 60s, the 70s, and the 80s. So someone like you had no clue. You probably know him just because of like hearing him or watching him on Pac-10. So I want people to see what an awesome basketball player he was. I also want people to understand the man. He's a wonderful human being who's funny and irreverent, but also deeply soulful. And I love that at his particular age, he's a man of a certain age now, he's evolving, he's still learning, he's open to conversations, he likes to stand up for what he believes in, and I want people to see that. So a little bit of, for those of you who don't know, like, what it meant to be a center in basketball in the 60s, 70s, and 80s, from college to the end of his career, that started in California and then went to Portland and then ended in Boston. And he played with some of the best. He played with Kareem, he played with Bird, he played with Maurice Lucas, he played with Daryl Dawkins. I mean, he's just the man. So I want people to see all of that about him. Plus, he's just really funny and smart. And the Grateful Dead soundtrack is jamming.
This film is for other people. This film is for people who weren't there. This film is for people who want to learn, who want to understand, want to have a vision of what it was like. And so I just hope for the best. I'm trying to make it, trying to get to heaven before they close the door.
Do you have any advice for student filmmakers like myself who are just trying to create their own stories, or who want to help share the stories of others like you're doing with this project?
Yeah, don't wait around for someone to give you permission or even money to get started making what you want to make. You just have to sort of dive in. There's no reason nowadays, with technology being what it is, that you can't get out and make a film whether you have money or not. That wasn't always true, and it is true now. So the only barrier to you really getting your own film underway is you.
I'm Bill. I'm the luckiest guy in the world.
Hook 'em horns.